Hello, and welcome to the second segment of our The Heart of the Matter series that we are doing for Domestic Violence Month. We are highlighting some of the shelters that uh, we sponsor and we help out during our Hooked Up and Knit Together in Love Winter Project. Today we will be talking with Andrew Primrose, and let's see if he's here. See if he's waiting to come in. There he is. Okay. Come on in, Andrew. Andrew, I can't see you. Let's see. Oh boy. There you are. Hello, Andrew. Thank you so
Hi.
much for coming back.
Absolutely.
Yes. We are so excited to have you back because you have so much wonderful information to share. So we're gonna jump right in. Tell me all about your shelter and how you fit in and what it is that you do, just to introduce everyone to you.
Sure. So my name is Andrew Primrose, and I work for the House of Ruth, Maryland. House of Ruth is one of the nation's leading intimate partner violence centers. We help over the life of our 45 years of history. We've helped over 100,000 women and victims of intimate partner violence find safety and security. We have been working, as I said, for 45 years in the state of Maryland, in the central Maryland area. We do have a shelter, which most people know us for, and that's an 84-bed shelter, which is, again, one of the largest in the area. And we have a ton of other services that we'll talk about, as we get into this conversation.
Okay. Whew. So how quickly can space be made available when someone is calling you? Or is there a long waiting period? Is there a difficult way to get in, or is it easy? They call right in and come right in. Tell us how that works.
Sure. So we have an 84-bed shelter that's at an undisclosed location, and I'll be frank in this conversation, and I don't mean to be abrupt with it, but it's a very serious conversation.
Yeah.
The reality of how people get to our shelter is they're victims of serious physical, intimate partner violence, and so there has to be an objective measurement to that. And so there's a doctor at Johns Hopkins University who developed an evaluation tool, a measurement tool. And this evaluation is given to victims of intimate partner violence. It's used by police departments all across the country, and it's used by shelters all across the country. House of Ruth uses that evaluation tool, and they will evaluate what is happening in the person's life and the risk that they're in, and provide an objective measurement of the danger that they're in. It's called a danger assessment score. The shelter housing and our housing programs, the availability of that is based on the danger assessment. So we opened our shelter in late 2000, and at that time, 2 weeks after we opened, our shelter was at capacity. It remains at capacity to this day. We could build another 84-bed shelter right next to it, and it would be at capacity in 2 weeks. So the reality of the work that our team has to do is they have to evaluate those needs, get people that are in immediate danger into the shelter where available or how available. We have alternative programs if there's not space at the shelter, but somebody needs shelter. We have a hotel program where we work with hotel partners to provide, safety and security to somebody in an immediate need situation where we wouldn't have a bed available in our shelter facility. And then we also have long-term housing programs, safe home housing programs, different projects that the end result is to get people to safety and security.
Oh, this is just great. And I do want to ask you, do people that come to the shelter have to live in Maryland? I was asked that question before, or do you take from other areas? I know you're probably overwhelmed in Maryland, so yeah.
Yeah, the reality of the situation is that geographically it's not like a hard, but what we would likely do in that situation, depending on the reasoning, is work with a local service provider. So whereas we'll take people from outside Baltimore City, people from Baltimore County, Prince George's, Montgomery, that will come in, that will fill the need. More than likely, what we would do is if that area had a shelter facility, we would work with them. Every county in this area has a comprehensive or a service provider for intimate partner violence. Not all of them are comprehensive service agencies,
Right.
but we would work with them to figure out the programs in their area and then figure out a reason why they felt it was important to come to Baltimore. So it's not a hard no, but for the most part, the idea would be that we work to support the need in our region.
Okay. So how did COVID impact you? We talked a little bit about this before. How did COVID impact you, and tell us how you had to prepare for that?
Sure. Well, preparing, we didn't really get a lot of time for that.
Yeah.
It was a Friday, and they said, "I think we're going to take the weekend to figure this out." And then Monday, it was okay. We can't come in, and then
Mhm.
it's 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and now we're 2 years later.
Yeah, yeah.
So in terms of preparation, it was really playing from behind, just like everybody else. We had
Mhm.
to learn and adjust and evaluate. Uh, First and foremost, we didn't close our doors at any point. We didn't shut
Wonderful.
off programs and services, which was a tremendous accomplishment by our team. We couldn't. We didn't have an option. People, were still experiencing this issue and still needed a place to go, and it was a life or death issue.
Yes.
This is not something that can wait for the pandemic. Like the
Mhm.
pandemic, it was a life or death situation. So our staff worked diligently, extremely hard, just put an ungodly amount of effort into keeping things as safe as possible. And
Yes.
in reality, that's preparation, that's ordering personal protective equipment and hoarding it and getting it. Remember in the early
Yes.
days, it was impossible to get masks and all those items. So really just due diligence from them to just try and get it from any source possible. We had to keep people quarantined. We had to keep them, away and safe.
Mhm.
In the shelters, we cleaned, sanitized, as much as possible.
Yes.
A lot of our programs that were not people at the shelter went virtual. We invested
Mm.
in software, we invested in infrastructure to be able to accommodate that. Our counseling services, we bought a HIPAA compliant counseling service software so that people could have their
Wonderful.
counseling sessions from their house. Just a tremendous amount of effort to keep
Yes.
operations as near as possible to regular, with the idea being that this issue didn't stop.
This is fantastic. So tell us a little bit about the store that you have there to make sure people have things to wear if they run right out and they have nothing with them. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So, I mentioned earlier we have a ton of programs and services
Mhm.
outside of our shelter. So we'll talk about that soon. But one of the things within our shelter that we're so proud of is we have a donation center at our community
Yes.
engagement building there where people can donate used and new clothing items. And that's, concept's been around for a long time. Of course, a lot of shelters rely on donations for clothing items. What House of Ruth does with our donations is we go through and we find appropriate items for the people that are staying with us in our shelter. And rather than just kind of sort them out and just hand a bag and say, here's clothing in your size or close to your size, the volunteers and the staff at our shelter facility have set up what amounts to a clothing store. And it looks just like any boutique shop that you would walk into. It's really neat. It has a children's section. It has a women's section. It has a maternity section, believe it or
Oh,
not.
wow.
And so a shoe section, winter clothing, all of
Mhm.
this laid out. And so what will happen is somebody that comes to our shelter, and typically the people that are coming to our shelter are in crisis. So they're leaving. So they may not have had time to pack a bag or certainly not pack seasonally and,
Yes.
preparing for those kind of eventualities. So they'll come in and they'll have the opportunity to go shopping at this
Yes.
facility. And of course,
Mhm.
everything's free of charge. They go through, they can pick out their size, they can pick out their style, they can pick out the type of clothing they need. I've been in our child care center, which we'll talk about a little bit in
Mhm.
our shelter facility. And I've been down there where a young girl spilled her juice on her jacket or on her overalls. And
Mhm.
she got so upset. I don't have any other clothes to change into. Mommy's going to be
Mhm.
upset. Mommy's going to be upset. And we literally just took her upstairs, went out there and said, what do you like? She picked it out. She put it on, a smile on her face, knowing that she now had another outfit. She wasn't worried about having the juice
Yes.
spilled on it. That's just, it's amazing. And so the work that our team does to provide that experience, right?
Yes.
It's a little bit of normalcy in an otherwise chaotic environment.
Yes, that is just wonderful. So there's another a service that you offer that I find very helpful and just really amazing is the legal services that you supply. Tell us a little bit about that, and even the way that the police work with you a little bit there too. So just give us an overview of that.
Yeah, so our legal department is amazing. It's the largest of its kind in the country for a comprehensive service provider. And if it was just a standalone legal department, it would be one of the larger ones in Baltimore City. It is entirely composed of House of Ruth employees. So it's not pro bono attorneys that are working to volunteer with us. These are House of Ruth employees that work
Mhm.
full time in our legal department. And their role is to serve as legal counsel for victims of intimate partner violence.
Yes.
And so located in courtrooms in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Prince George's, and Montgomery County, they're physically in the courtroom, in offices, waiting and working with clients. So I've been in situations where in Baltimore City, the courthouse, the judge will stop the proceedings, says we're going to, say we'll take a 5-minute recess, and then advise to the person in front of the court, I need you to walk across the hallway, go over and see the people at House of Ruth and get legal representation.
Wow.
And what's
Awesome.
amazing about that is it's completely free of charge, as all our services are,
Mhm.
and it's across all spectrum of legal issues that affect victims of intimate partner violence. So it might be peace and protective orders, it might be custody issues, it might be divorce proceedings, anywhere in which there is this imbalance of power and control and it's affecting in the court system. Our lawyers are there to provide that balance to be able to help those people get representation in our justice
Yes.
system, and again, free of charge, which is just staggering when you think about
Yes.
how much legal fees would add up for somebody that was experiencing that.
Yes, so this is just amazing, and I just am so happy that you're working with the police department, and they will say, okay, maybe you need to call this place because I have worked with a couple of women recently who they had that type of issue, but there was nowhere to recommend them to. So this is wonderful to know that that is going on.
And one
So.
of the things to build on to that, one of the things
Mhm.
that House of Ruth does with the police department of cooperation of Baltimore City Police Department is that when they issue a domestic violence police report in Baltimore City, now at the end of that month, those reports are compiled and sent to House of Ruth. And we have a team that reaches out from House of Ruth that reaches out to every victim of intimate partner violence to let them know that our
Wow.
programs and services are available, to let them know that what they experienced is not acceptable, is not normal, is not, but not to judge them, not to say
Right.
that what you did is wrong and you need to leave. It's, hey, you experienced this. We are here for you. We provide these services. And what we know is it generally takes around 6 months after we make that outreach for somebody to come back to us and say, you know what, I'm ready to talk to you about our program, your programs and services in this relationship. That's just,
Wow. Yes.
amazing program.
Yes, 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 yes. And I'm very excited that it's there. I almost want to say, I wish that we could just roll this out into every, state and, really get this going for people because this is really an amazing outreach that you're doing. So tell us how you get your information out to the community. How do you pass out flyers? Are there, what are you doing to get the community involved and knowing that you are there for them?
Sure. So the mission of House of Ruth has been twofold since
Mhm.
the organization started. So first part of our mission is to provide safety and security to victims of intimate partner violence. And I say first, they're interchangeable. They're not balanced one higher than the other.
Yes.
And so as we look at that part of the mission, that's our shelter, that's our program services, counseling, legal, right? We're providing that safety and security for those people that are in need. But the other part of our work and something that maybe people aren't aware of is we need to address the causes of intimate partner violence, right? We have to address the attitudes, the behaviors,
Yes.
and the culture that enables abuse to continue, right? There's a
Mhm.
reason this continues to happen and it's cyclical.
Yes.
And so part of that is addressing with the community why this happens, what the root
Mhm.
causes of it are, that it's not a private and family matter that shouldn't be discussed in public, but in
Yes.
fact, it's a societal issue that needs to be addressed by the community and in public.
Yes.
House of
Oof.
Ruth works in a budget that we're not out there buying billboards and running
Mhm.
TV commercials and that kind of stuff. We don't feel that that's the best use of our funds. Our funds need to
Right.
go to programs and services that work with victims. Now, of course, our job is to generate awareness of those programs and services, and then also to fundraise to support those programs and
Right.
services. And so, because of that, we rely on people like you, people in the community, your group, to help us be our messengers out in the community. To say, these programs and services exist that you can turn to House of Ruth in your hour of need. And then when you're looking to support an organization, your support enables these programs to happen free of charge. So, yes, we have flyers. Yes, we have materials that we can put out there in the community. But the biggest thing is, if people are on social media, amplify our message. If you see this video, repost it, put it out there, let more people hear it. You never know who's going to hear at the right time
That's right.
this kind of message. Let them know that House of Ruth is available for them.
Mhm.
And then from there, when you see an opportunity to support us, whether it be volunteering, donation drives,
Mhm.
income donations, any of those
Yes.
items, please, support us. People need your help. This is an issue that affects everyone across all genders, across all
Yes.
races, across all levels of socioeconomic impact. This is a societal issue, and we need everyone's support.
I agree. Oh boy. So that's just a whole lot. And I'm so happy that you are here to share that with people because, we really need to get on top of this, because it's impactful not only to the person it's happening to, but those who are affiliated with that person. It's
Mhm.
sort of like
A
it's a
ripple
ball that
effect.
just keeps growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And it can be generational if we don't attack it the way we need to. So one of the other things I wanted to ask you about is your training programs because we often talk about how could we have known or how could we have helped or how could we see when something is going on whether or not we should know that this is a situation that needs to be addressed or whether it's just normal anger or whether it's just normal this or that. So tell us how that you train people in different like maybe like we spoke of a little bit before in corporations or in groups or in families. How do you educate?
Sure. So a big part of our work to address the attitudes, behaviors, and the
Hmm.
culture that enables abuse is education, right? It's just
Yes.
like anything else. We need to address one, what this issue is. What is
Hmm.
intimate partner violence? It's not anger. It's not substance abuse. It's not, oh, he was an angry drunk. He might be angry and he
Hmm.
might have a drinking problem, but that is not equal to intimate partner violence. Intimate partner violence at its core is an abuse of power and control dynamic. And so that power and control dynamic can represent itself or manifest itself in a relationship through a ton of abusive behaviors, physical violence being one of them, coercion, sexual violence, verbal abuse, all of those aspects of it at its core are just an abuse of a power and control dynamic. And so, people will say, oh, it was just, he was an angry drunk and that's why he did it. He might be an angry drunk, but that does not equal the intimate partner violence. And so that education, that conversation and awareness that it's not okay, that it's not acceptable, that despite, as you said, generationally, sometimes
Hmm.
this was accepted or passed along as that it's not something that our society as a whole accepts. So that education is key and crucial. And then also what you mentioned, which is how do you react as a bystander? How do you react as a family member? How do you react seeing these? How do you recognize the signs and symptoms of what's occurring? And then most importantly, how do you react when you understand that this
Hmm.
is happening? So we have a training institute that was born out of an incident where somebody in Baltimore area business was murdered by her partner, and in a horrific and horrible fashion, as is often the case. And the company came to us and said, "What could we have done differently? How could we have seen this?" Because the husband also worked for the company.
Oh wow.
And so what should we have been looking for? What could we have done to prevent this?
Hmm.
And so those trainings that came out of that were how to recognize IPV in a workplace and then what to do, with that. And so the Training Institute from House of Ruth, Maryland was born out of that mission to not only work with community partners, people to understand and educate. And then I could go into another 20 minutes of what those signs and symptoms are, but the reality is we
Yes.
have professionals that train that. And their
Hmm.
job is to go out in the community. So they'll work with businesses, large and small. They can do a 3-day intensive with HR professionals for a national corporation, or they can do a 30-minute lunch and learn that just provides the general, this is how you do that. One of the other things that's amazing about our training institute and the work that they do
Hmm.
is they also work with service professionals in the industry to help educate them. So we
Hmm.
take the 45 years of House of Ruth, Maryland's knowledge and uh, things that we've gained through hard work and knowledge and
Hmm.
sweat and tears and are able to pass them on to other agencies to say,
Yeah.
hey, this is what works for us. So whether it be continuing education credits, which people in the industry need, or
Hmm.
just the presentation of our methodology and service so that it can be adopted. You said, oh, wouldn't that be great if other places do that? Well,
Yes.
we have a training where we go to other service providers across the country and say, this is how you can adopt this policy. This is how you can
Wonderful.
work with the police department to establish it.
Mhm.
And so that training institute is doing the work all across the country.
Wonderful. So if we're not in the Maryland area and want to participate, are there online classes available for?
Yeah, so that as that starts to build, the online curriculum continues to
Mhm.
build. There'll be announcements coming out very soon, and I wish I could talk about it a little more. There's some very exciting stuff on the horizon in the very
Okay.
very near future around the launch of this a hub for that information. But the thing that I would suggest to people, if you're interested in more information, you can go to hruthmd.org,
Mhm.
hruth.org, and at that website, there's a training tab that you can pull down, and that has all kinds of information on what's available online, and then also classes that you can register for, either for a charge or free of charge.
Okay, so I'll put that down in the descriptor, uh,
Oh, great.
the
Thank you.
hroof.org. And I am just so happy that you are out there and that you're allowing, training us, teaching us, being there for us, having beds available, and doing the work that needs to be done in order for people to move from victims to victors. So I really am excited about that. The last thing I wanted to say was, tell us how we can donate. I know finances are necessary for this type of thing. Do you have a you know, Cash App? You have a donation? Where can they go to donate if they want to donate funds?
Yeah, so time, treasure, and talent, right, is always the call to action for people.
Yes.
And so, of course, volunteering, doing programs like your group does with the
Mhm.
scarves, which is so
Yes.
amazing, and
Yes.
that work and support, in-kind clothing item donations, all appreciated. And of course, the treasure, it does cost a lot of money to keep these programs and services free of
Mhm.
charge for the victims. And so, if you go onto our website, is the easiest place to go and do that.
Okay.
You can go to hruth.org/donate, and as you click on that link, you can see the options to give.
Okay.
One of the amazing things that we have so many generous people do for us is they set it up so that it's a reoccurring donation. And so you can go on and you can click and say, I just want $5 out of every paycheck to come. You set it up with your card, it's deducted, you never even notice it's gone. And
Mhm.
then at the end of the year, you've given a fair amount of money to help support the programs and services. You don't need to pull out the card every time, go to the website, makes it kind of easy. That's a fantastic program if you're in a situation. And the reality is, no matter how big or small the gift, it makes an impact in the lives of somebody that has this need.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off? One last thing you might want to say to our people before we
Yeah,
go?
I thank you. It's just a simple
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for the support of your program and the work that you guys do to provide those scarves for the people that stay with us.
Thank
I
you.
know it's something that's looked forward to every year.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that generosity, and then thank you for taking the time to talk with us and to spread this
Yes.
message. Of course, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and
Yes.
and you're helping to spread that message. This is important. This is the work that needs to be done. These are the
Yes.
conversations that need to be had, and we cannot make a change no matter how hard our team works. They cannot make a change if the community doesn't come together and work with us. So thank you for being a part of that conversation, and we look forward to continuing our partnership.
Agreed. Thank you so much, Andrew. Like, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can share this message with others. Thank you so much, Andrew, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.